PBA Senior Tour hits the beaches as it returns on ESPN. ESPN and the Professional Bowlers Association present the championship round finals of the Naples Senior PBA Open. Leading a field of 192 pros is a two-time senior champion who is known for throwing lots of strikes, Dick Beatty. Standing in his way is a bowler making his 57th TV appearance and 8th as a senior, the 1993 Senior Player of the Year, Gary Dickinson. Welcome, everyone, to Woodside Lanes in beautiful Naples, Florida. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Durbin. Working with me once again is the ABC and PBA Hall of Famer, Earl Anthony. Earl, Dick Beatty is our tournament leader, and he may be known for winning 2 senior tournaments and a bowler who throws a lot of strikes, but he's probably best known as the bowler that defeated a very famous bowler in his last competitive game.
Well, that's why I'm out here with you now, Mike, because Dick Beatty beat me in Flint, Michigan, really about, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago.
Well, Dick Beatty's probably one of the few bowlers that can say that he defeated Earl Anthony in a championship match.
Come on, Michael. You know I've got at least 43 seconds, something like that. So a lot of people. I've made a lot of new champions out of a lot of young, good players.
But Dick is a bowler who can throw a lot of strikes and throw them very quickly.
Well, Dick is the kind of guy that has a great natural rhythm, and he gets to the foul line almost exactly the same every time, and that's conducive to repeating the shot. And if you can repeat the shot, you're going to throw a lot of strikes.
And speaking of bowlers that repeat shots, our number 2 player, Barry Gurney, seems to be a bowler that gets better every week.
He gets better. Well, Barry's the kind of guy also that has been tough luck, you might say. He's bowled extremely well in his past television performances. He's been the other guys have just shot big numbers at him. Barry gets it going again today, and he's not as unlucky as he's been in the past. He could be the winner. In
a good position in that number 2 spot.
Exactly.
In the number 3 position, PBA Senior Player of the Year last year, Gary Dickinson. Great year last year. This year, not quite as good.
Not quite as good, but Gary's that kind of guy. He's like a time bomb. He could go off at any minute. Very talented player, as evidenced by him being in the Hall of Fame, PBA Hall of Fame. Gary's the guy everybody else in this television finals will be watching.
Okay. Another guy that everybody in Naples will be watching is a very nervous player, Will Strickland, making his first television appearance.
And Will is not only very nervous, he's scared to death, Mike. That's really what it comes down to. I talked to him just a few minutes ago, and he says, all I want to do is be slow to the foul line, just be slow to the foul line. But he does have one advantage. He used to run the pro shop right here at this bowling center, so he's very familiar with the lane surfaces. That's a big advantage.
In the number 5 position, a veteran player with 1 senior title, Mike Samardzija.
Mike Samardzija is one of the best bowlers ever to come out of the Detroit area. People like Bob Strampy have been from there, but Samardzija is a great clutch player. If there's anything he can do well, it's make a good shot under pressure. So if they get him in a situation where he needs to strike, watch out for Mike.
Well, we'll find out if Mike strikes in the opening match as he takes on a very nervous Will Strickland. And lanes 23 and 24 here at Woodside Lanes, Earl. This is the championship pair. Mike Samardzija making the opening shot. Well,
and Mike's thanking the right people, isn't he?
I guess it's not how, it's how many, huh?
That's right, as long as they go down.
And the opening shot here for Will Strickland, his first shot ever on television. Well, I'll loosen both of them up.
That should do the job right there. Will is the kind of guy that also, he throws a lot of strike. He's got a very heavy rolling bowling ball. If he gets it in the pocket area, he could shoot some big numbers. And I'm sure Mike Samardzija is aware of that. Mike's strength, and we'll show you that a little later, we're going to get a look at Mike his next time up, is his ability to overcome the head area of the lane, the part that causes the biggest problems for most players. As that dries out, it doesn't bother Mike because he can throw the ball well down the lane in the air.
For the double. Well, the dinner bucket right away.
And that's an almost automatic adjustment, don't you think, Mike? You get one out there, and you're nervous first to begin with, and then you get one that crosses the head pin. The next thing you do is throw it a little harder and make a move that you shouldn't have made. This is probably the toughest spare the players have had all week. Any part of the bucket. This is the 2, 4, 5, 8 here, and the idea here is to get the ball between the 2 and the 5. Like that.
Well, it's got to make him feel a little better, a little more relaxed as he switched balls there to make that spare.
A lot of players that do what Will's done here. They'll switch balls, go to a hard shell ball that doesn't hook much, and just go directly at the spare, as you see Will doing here.
Excellent tip for our bowlers at home there.
If you can afford to have an extra bowling ball.
Samardzija leaves the 4-pin. He does get the ball well out of the lane, doesn't he?
Yeah, that I think is one of the strengths of Mike's game. Is what's made him a good player under pressure is that his ability to keep the ball in the pocket area on almost any lane condition and find a way with his strength and his ball speed and the fact that he can loft the ball well over the foul line.
He also switching balls to shoot the spare. Right straight at the 4-pin. Both players off with strike spare.
Watching you before we went on the air, throwing a few practice balls on the lane 22 over there, Mike, I think these guys are lucky you're not playing today. Did you have about 10 in a row out there or something?
Lane 22 was blocked.
Yeah, right.
Trying to get it in the pocket on lane 23. It does. As they touch hands there, it seems like there is a real spirit of camaraderie on the senior tour, Earl.
There is. These guys, you know, they've already done what they're going to do basically with their careers, you might say. Now this is a lot of fun for them. Chance to make some pretty good bucks, but also most of them are just having a good time.
Well, that one got away from him as he crosses over, barely hits the head pin, leaves the 3 and the 9. Well, that's a tough spare.
Well, that's a tough spare for anybody, and right now for Will, this is extremely hard. He wants to get both pins with the ball out, obviously, and what he'll probably do is throw it out near the channel and hope it hooks back. But in that part of the lane, it can be very tricky because nobody's played out there, and the ball could skid on him.
Switches balls again.
Careful.
Yeah.
We're going to get another look at Will's first shot here, and you see him, all he did was pull the ball, get it off line well inside of his target line. The ball never had a chance to get to the right side of the head pin. And then here's a look again at the spare, and I believe he hit what he was looking at here. Didn't expect the ball to finish this hard and hook to the left side of the 3-pin.
Well, the worst has happened. He's got in the open frame. Maybe he'll relax and make a good shot now. And a better shot. Gets the 5 and the 10 out of there, but left the 8.
Wasn't that kind of a strange pin action there?
Yeah, it was.
The important thing for Will right now is to make this spare, sit down and regroup, and hope that Mike Samardzija doesn't get the double to really add on to this 13-pin lead. Will Strickland makes that spare. He's trailing by 13 pins. We'll be back in just a minute right after this. The PBA Naples Senior Open is brought to you by Fannie Mae, showing America a new way home. Mike Samardzija up on lane 24, leading by 13, trying to increase it to 23 with a double. Well, Mike, it looks to me like lane 24 is the one that hooks the most, and neither player has really made a good shot on that lane. They both hit 23 pretty good, but lane 24 is the one that seems to hook a little earlier and give them the most problems. This is another tough spare here, the 3 and the 6. Mike Samardzija cross lane using a low friction ball, makes the 3 and the 6. All right, we're going to take a look at Mike's style as he goes to the foul line here. Right at this point, at the top of the backswing, you can see that Mike is he's just about shoulder level, and will continue on. Get to the foul line. Look how he comes up a little bit with the shot and throws it well out on the lane. That's how he can delay the roll. And he delays it right in there for a pocket strike. Another picture on the telescope. Will Strickland now up in the 5th frame, trailing by 13 pins. Another opportunity to try and get himself together and get back in this match. Looks like a better shot on lane 24. Well, for a guy that we thought was going to be very nervous, he's recovered quite well. And Mike, it might be what you said, missing that spare, loosened him up a little bit. You know, like you said, the worst has happened now. It's over with. Let's get on and start bowling.
Waiting for the ball to come back as we take a look at the score. The difference 13 pins. Both players on strike. We're halfway through the opening match here in Woodside Lanes in Naples, Florida. Trying for a double. Oh, two pretty shots, Earl.
Yeah, and Will's pumped up now. He's ready to go. This guy never stops practicing, Mike. I was talking to the people here earlier, and they said he was in here bowling on the lanes that weren't in use in match play last night, real late, and again this morning. He just practice. He's been bowling for 2 hours before we went on the air.
Takes his cue from John Handigard, huh?
I guess so.
Oh, what a nice shot. Did you see how far he got on the ball out of the lane? Really delayed that roll.
It reminds me a lot of Mark Roth without all the turn and the ball speed. Here's another look at it. Watch how far out in the lane the ball is before it touched down. A good 8-9 feet.
Stayed right behind that, too.
That's the strength of Mike's game right there. That's what he does best.
Is that from growing up in all those track conditions in the Detroit area?
It sounds like it would be to me.
20 years ago?
Yeah. You can just about determine where a player is from, what part of the country, based on his bowling style.
Samardzija up by 13, trying to increase it to 23. Oh, what a nice shot. He's answered the challenge.
He has. And Will Strickland put some pressure on him, but he came
Well,
out.
as we hit the last stretch run of this match, Mike Samardzija leads by 23. Can Strickland come back? We'll find out right after this. Will Strickland up in the 7th frame, trailing by 23 pins. He's got to match Samardzija's strikes here.
Yes, he does. And just to give you an idea what they're playing on, these are 3-pound, 8-ounce pins. They're matched. So that the exactly.
Oh, the
right
10 pin goes down late.
Right, and Will is bowling extremely well right now. Bowling on 36 feet, synthetic lanes, 36 feet of oil.
Don't forget to join us Thursday night at 7:56 as West Virginia takes on Virginia Tech. West Virginia's been struggling a little bit this year.
There's been some teams that have shown extreme power that you never thought would have it, and some teams that you thought were very strong, like Wisconsin, just the other day getting beat. That surprised me there. They went to Colorado and they had more than they could handle.
Well, they got away from him, left the 5-pin. Good count, but bad shot. The 8th frame still alive. Should be an easy spare for him.
Well, Will has nothing to be ashamed of, so that's the important thing. He's bowling well, and I'm sure that right now, you know, a lot of thoughts go through your mind that first time on television. You think, I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to do anything really foolish and stupid. And he's done more than enough for his first time out there. Sometimes some players react different than others. Some guys go out and shoot 260. Some players go out and shoot 160.
I was the 160. Samardzija heading for the 8th frame, leading by 14 pins.
Big ball here for Mike. You see the concentration on his face. What a great shot that is. What a great angle.
Boy, has he snapped that weak 10 out just like you used to all the time, I'll tell you.
We're going to take another look at Mike's, that last shot of Mike, and here from behind. Another angle again. You can see that really gets it well out in the lane. He stays down well through the shot, and he, as Mike mentioned, just kicks that 10 pin out. And I've seen Mike do, this particular Mike right here, not the Mike sitting next to me, but this particular Mike right here, do that for a long, long time. You never carried the 10, did you?
No, I always left it.
Yeah, right.
Samardzija in the 9th frame. Boy, he's wired now, Earl.
He
one
is.
right after another.
Extremely well. That might have been the best ball he's rolled right there. That shot on lane 23 in the 9th frame was the best ball he's made, the best shot he's made all through the match.
Well, the best Will Strickland can get is 226. He'd get Samardzija's attention if he got that, if he went out and did that.
And I think Will would be very happy with 226, win or lose. Oh, there's another great angle. You see the rotation of the ball. And again, lane 24 being the one that seems to hook the most and the soonest. And Will's a little high on the headpin. It leaves a 3-6-10.
Looked like he got that into the OL, but there was not enough down the lane to hold the ball into the pocket.
These new bowling balls, we've talked about this before, these resin reactive bowling balls tend to take the oil right off the lane surface. Almost absorb it, I guess. And when that happens, it dries out the first part of the lane. It takes a lot of power or strength to get the ball down the lane, keep it in play, I think.
But they're certainly the rage. Everybody's using them.
Everybody's using them because they give you a big, evidently they give you more strike power in the pocket area and a bigger pocket to carry.
I forgot you retired before they came along, right?
Yeah, but I've seen you throw them, Mike.
Oh, I see.
The way you bowl with them, I could average at least 190 with them.
Well, I'm sure that you wouldn't have any trouble with that.
There's a good ball. Oh, look at that hook in the back. Wow.
Another 3-6-10. Back-to-back 3-6-10s, and Will knows that this is an experience builder.
Well, not bad. 5th place, Mike. And the thing is, Will was a local favorite. Everybody here knows Will Strickland, as I mentioned before. He ran the pro shop here for a while, and he's very well liked here in the Naples area.
Now he's got to keep in mind he beat 187 other bowlers. Makes that spare. The $3,500 check will soothe the wounds a little bit. Mike Samardzija gets a rookie out of the way, and now he gets a Hall of Famer coming on.
Gary Dickinson, like we were talking about earlier, is the one that everybody, I'm sure, is watching as far as the other players are concerned. And I wouldn't be surprised if you could go deep into the mind of Richard Beatty and, of course, Barry, and find that deep down there they're saying, oh, boy, I hope that Mike beats Gary Dickinson.
They'd never admit it, though.
No, they'd never admit it, but I'm sure they'd rather bowl a player who's not quite as experienced in this type of thing and hasn't won as near as many tournaments like Mike Samardzija rather than Gary Dickinson. I know I would. Of course, Mike can go out there and do what he's doing to you just like he did to Will Strickland.
Boy, he is wired in there right now. He's staying straight behind that ball with lots of loft, and it's hitting great. That's 6 in a row. He can finish this game out for 260, I believe, if I can still keep score right. Mike proving the veteran player that he is. He's 3-0 on television now. He hasn't lost a game yet on TV. Got his only title back in 1992 in Escondido, California. For the 7-bagger. Well, they fall easy when it doesn't matter, don't they?
Well, it's an easy game when it doesn't count. And right now, of course, Mike can do that. We talked about Mike earlier and how good he is in the clutch situation. And I think Mike would make the same shots, basically, if he really had to. And this lane condition fits Mike's game. He likes this kind of play where you can get in and somewhere between that second and third arrow and just extend it down the lane. That's where he plays his best.
Strike here, and he finishes with 260. That's what he's got. 260 to 188. Mike Samardzija is the winner of our opening match. When we come back, Earl and I will have a little to say about how to improve that average of yours. Stay tuned.
For this week's Average Builder, I thought I'd like to talk about something that Earl Anthony mentioned at our last senior telecast in Las Vegas. And to make sure that I get it right, I've got Earl right here to correct me. Earl, you mentioned several times during that telecast about the hand chasing the ball. Mm-hmm. What does that mean, and how do I do it? And how's it going to benefit me and the bowler out there?
Well, it's a major benefit for most bowlers, and the way you do it is you bend your knee at the foul line and you reach out to your target. That's the simplest way I can explain it, but what the benefits are very simple. By doing this, you stay down at the line for better balance. The second benefit is that you get more revolutions on the bowling ball because when your thumb comes out, your fingers stay in the ball longer. And the third benefit is you increase your accuracy because you're reaching to your target by doing this. So those three things right there, if you want more revolutions on the bowling ball so it hits harder for you, you want to be more consistent and with your approach and more balanced at the foul line, and you definitely want to be more accurate and be able to hit the pocket more often, think about chase the ball with your hand.
All right, earlier I threw a couple of shots. In the first one, I didn't chase the ball with my hand. In the second one, I tried to. Earl's going to analyze both of them. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, but you struck both times, Michael. You made it look easy. Here's a look at Mike getting to the foul line and intentionally pulling up on the shot, standing up almost straight up at the foul line. You can see his hand come out very quickly, jerking his fingers out of the ball. He loses accuracy, he loses balance, and of course, he has very little rotation on the ball because his hand comes out of the ball almost altogether. Here's Mike when he's doing it properly, and this is how Mike used to bowl on the tour time after time. The perfect style, the right height for the backswing, but watch the balance at the foul line. The long extension and follow-through, chasing the ball with his hand, and the maximum revolutions and great accuracy. That's Mike Durbin at his best.
Well, there you have it. If you want to stay down at the line, improve your accuracy, and get more revs on the ball, do what Earl says. Chase the ball with your hand. We'll see you again next week from St. Petersburg, Florida, when we'll have another Average Builder.
Well, Mike Samardzija chased the ball with his hand for a 260 in the openings match. We'll see if he can match that or do better as he takes on the defending champion.
Get into it.
All right, there's the handshake. Gary Dickinson, who actually is the youngest player on our telecast tonight, Earl.
He is.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
He's only 51. Everyone else is at least 53.
He's just the baby, huh?
Yeah.
All right, well, Mike Samardzija bowled extremely well the first match. Will Strickland really never ever put any pressure on him. I think this is the guy that could do that right here. And he comes right out of the gate with the 2-4-5.
2-4-5.
The toughest spare he could leave, based on what Gary told me earlier. He says this is the 2-4-5 is the one that everybody dreads on this lane condition. The ball either wants to hook and chop it or slide by it. So Gary's going to change balls here. Move left and throw the ball hard and straight at it. That's what he tries to do on this shot.
Perfect. Right at that 2-pin. Like the textbook says how to do it.
It's kind of interesting. As most of you at home know, the bowler that qualifies higher in the standings gets his choice of starting lanes. And Gary chose to start the match on lane 23, which means he'll bowl his 10th frame on lane 24, which has been the more difficult lane of the two so far.
Actually, Samardzija hasn't had a whole lot of troubles. He threw 10 strikes in the opening match. He starts off with a 4-7 here.
10 strikes is a lot of strikes.
Mike switching balls for the 4-7.
After this spare, we'll take a look at Mike Samardzija's style again. We'll give you a better idea what Mike's all about, what he tries to do with the bowling ball here. Now we'll take a look at him. Here's Mike now standing. You see how straight he stands when he starts his approach. He's just straight up and down right here. And then as he gets into that and gets moving here we go. The arm swing. Watch how he bends at the waist and gets a straight line here and is perfectly height in the backswing. And then we continue on. And at the foul line, watch him come up at this point. He releases the ball on the upswing. That's the strength of Mike's game right there. Back live again.
As he flushes it in, you know, there are a lot of teachers of bowling now that say that you shouldn't try and hit the ball on the upswing. What do you think?
Well, I disagree with that. I think, of course, these bowling balls I'm not familiar with. The new bowling balls, Mike, that could be... It could be that if you hit them on the upswing, you get too many revolutions and the ball hits too hard. I'm not sure. But I feel that players should always get rid of the ball slightly on the upswing.
Gary, lane 24. Do you think these new reactive resin balls benefit the straighter player or the big hook ball player? Before he answers that, Earl will have a chance to analyze Gary Dickinson.
One of the great stylists of the game. Here you can see Gary again. The slight knee bend here. This is very important for Gary because he's a very tall player. And then he gets into the swing here. Watch the height of the backswing. Again, we're almost perfect, shoulder level high. You can see how relaxed he is at this point right here. And then we go on into the shot. Look at the low, deep knee bend right there and the length of the follow through. That, again, is Gary's strength. And you see the straight line to the slide leg there.
It almost looked like Chinese writing as you were writing it there. Anyway, back to the question. Do you think the reactive resin balls favor the straighter players like Mike and Gary?
I think it equals out the ability of the players, is what I think it does, regardless of how you rotate the ball. I think it takes a lot of players that have extreme amount of skill and some players that are basically just a little above average and makes them almost equal. You can only knock down so many pins. We all know that. You know, regardless of how well you throw the ball and where it hits, if you hit the pocket 12 times in a row, you're going to leave something, you know, time after time. And what it does is it makes it easier for these guys to hit the pocket and make the ball hit. Now, I don't mean these particular players here, of course. These guys are all great players, all 5 players we have. But I'm talking about the average player, maybe the 190 average bowler in league. It makes him 210. And, the guy that's worked hard all his life to get to 210, he might be able to go up to 215 with the ball. So he gains 5 pins. The other guy gains maybe 20.
Well, right now, Mike Samardzija is gaining lots of pins as he just keeps throwing balls in the 1-3 and striking with them.
He's been doing that for 30 years. he's been very consistently in the pocket for 30 years.
His carry is just marvelous as he knocks that 10 pin out there time after time. Really puts some pressure on Gary Dickinson right now.
How many in a row is that for?
Well, he missed in the first
That's
frame.
right. I forgot. I'm really paying attention here, aren't I? Well, Gary, it seems, Gary Dickinson has been kind of a hard luck player on television. He's had a lot of big games bowled against him, much as our next player, Barry, has had the same problem. So Gary needs to get it going and put some pressure on Samardzija.
Ooh, nice little love tap there. Dickinson waiting for the ball to come back. As we take a look at our finalists by round, we see that Beatty was up there all the time. Dickinson started down and moved his way gradually right on up. Samardzija was near the top most of the time too after the first round.
Samardzija, I talked to him after match play this morning, and he said he was glad that was the last game because he was if they had one more game to bowl, he said he wouldn't have made the telecast. He was falling quickly.
Nice adjustment there to get that 10 pin out.
Gary's lined up now, and he's another player that can get the ball well down the lane, and I think that's the secret to success here in this bowling center, be capable of getting the ball well down the lane before it goes into a roll. Both of these players do that very well.
I'm impressed with his concentration. You look at how he is so focused.
Well, there's lane 24, jumped up and bit Mike Samardzija, leaving the 6, 7, 10 here, and this is really the most trouble any of our players have been in. And this is, again, the lane that hooks the most, and
make a small mistake
a early,
it gets magnified, doesn't it?
It's magnified. He'll go cross lane and then try to slide the 6 into the 7. Ball will take out the 10. Got a chance.
And he's open. Don't forget to join us later on tonight as Keith Oberman and Dan Patrick bring you ESPN Sports Center, something that watch every week. Cover story, Barry Sanders had a big night last night against the Dallas Cowboys. I guess they aren't invincible, huh?
Well, the Detroit Lions have shown a lot of talent that nobody thought they had also.
So 2 errant shots in a row. He leaves a 3-6 with this one. A conversion here by Mike, and he'll be trailing by 5 pins halfway through match number 2.
Mike again switching balls. He'll go cross lane at this spare. Try to get the ball to fit between the 2 pins. You'd like to hit both pins with the ball.
Oh, and an error. He falls further behind. Well, when we come back, Earl Anthony and I will return with the completion of match number 2 here at the Naples PBA Senior Open.
Against Indiana, and at 7:30, North Carolina's offense storms powerhouse Florida State's defense. ESPN college football, anything can happen.
And we see one of the greatest bowlers of all time, PBA Hall of Famer Dick Weber. And speaking of Dick Weber, we're going to have the Dick Weber Classic from the Arthur Ashe Center in Richmond, Virginia, Wednesday, October 5th at 7:30 Eastern Time.
Dick Weber talking to Gary Dickinson during the break. You wonder if he was giving him a little tip there. What do you think, Mike?
I don't know. They were laughing. Ooh, boy, that one crept high, too. You keep talking about how lane 24 hooks a little bit more.
Well, and actually, it looks like it's hooking sooner, and that's basically ends up being more, but sooner is worse than more. By that, I mean the lane can be very dry on the other end and hook very, very sharply, and the players can adjust to that. But when it's hooking sooner, that requires more ball speed or different rotation, and it's a little harder to adjust to. Hang on.
That's trouble. The old smile comes to his face there.
He better keep it going because Samardzija might have had a little problem there for a couple of frames, but he'll be tough. He'll come back. Here's another look at that spare. You see the ball covering both pins, but as Mike was a little nervous, you can be sure Gary Dickinson was nervous. Just a little of that 10 pin.
I always used to say on that, I wasn't worried. I knew I chopped it.
Yeah. Gary can't afford any mistakes, as I mentioned. Samardzija will be back.
Boy, he got a handful there, didn't he?
He did.
Mike Samardzija, 53 years of age.
Let's see if he makes an adjustment here, Mike. Twice in a row he's hit the middle of the head pin. Generally, he just throws it a little harder with more loft, and he did, and slid it by the head pin.
Well, he gave it room with no lift.
You get a look at him there again, if we can. You'll see that he got to the foul line a little quicker, a little off balance. And as you mentioned, no lift on the ball, because if you're off balance and getting there fast, you don't have a chance to lift the ball properly.
The 1-2-4-10.
1-2-4-10. Try to get the ball to the left side of the head pin. Let the head pin take out the 10.
He's got a chance. Oh, nice shot.
All right, here's another look at that first ball. You see Mike watch his balance at the foul line here. He starts to fall off to the right. You see the hop. He's starting to go to the right, and because of that, the ball never had any rotation. Never got back to the head pin. And there's a look at the spare. Makes it look easy, doesn't he? These guys might be seniors, but they're still great players.
Well, he's got to get his act back together, get the ball back in the pocket. Play it again. Almost looks like he's sticking just a little bit.
Well, he's always had a little hop, but not where he's fallen off to the right. And that's when a player falls off to the right, a right-hander, it's generally because he's a little quick to the foul line. Mike right now looks to be out of rhythm more than anything. He looks like he's lost his rhythm, and I think he was really surprised when he got that split back in the 5th frame, that 6-7-10. I don't think he expected that ball to hook as much as it did. And since then, he's just basically been out of rhythm.
He's a different bowler.
He's a different bowler. And Gary Dickinson's luck may have turned.
Yeah, he threw 11 out of 12 strikes there, and suddenly now he can't do anything right.
Tough spare.
Should make a couple of tough spares there. Sixes don't get it, though. They may be good in poker, but not so good on the PBA Senior Tour.
Well, again, Gary Dickinson can't just hang around. He better keep it going here, because there's still a couple frames to play, and Mike Samardzija could get that rhythm back and get it going again.
To increase his lead. High again. Boy, you get another break.
Well, the lanes are going through a transition right now. I think that's part of the problem. As they go through this transition, and by that I mean the oil pattern is changing on the lanes, and the players haven't figured that out yet and haven't made the adjustments. Being two very good players, they will, but unfortunately it's toward the end of the match. It may have cost Mike Samardzija the match. The transition started basically in that frame when he went through the middle of the head pin. Got a completely different ball reaction than he expected. Once they figure out where it's at, they'll make a move and they'll be all right.
We talked to Gary earlier about how he dominated the tour last year. This year hasn't been the same story. This is what he had to say.
I had a wrist problem back in last part of the winter tour on the regular tour, and really after the start of the seniors, I sprung my wrist, is what they call it. And I got in some bad habits, got throwing the ball bad, and struggled, this summer a little.
There's a good shot.
And gets the old bucket crumbler.
Well, Samardzija, as you can see by the score, Mike needs some strikes very badly. Here in the 9th frame, Mike Samardzija, possibility is still of bowling 210, which would make Gary Dickinson strike in the 10th frame.
Boy, they hooked on him again. He is really confused on this right lane. Totally confused.
And that's the lane Gary Dickinson has to finish on. So if Samardzija could have maybe got away with that crossover, he might have put a lot of pressure on Gary Dickinson.
At the 610. Has the spare. Well, he still has a chance if he could strike it out in the 10th to make Gary mark. We can see the difference there, 20 pins exactly.
Sometimes a mark's harder to get than a strike, as you know, Mike. Sometimes a player gets up there, even a player with the experience of Gary Dickinson, as you see him sitting there looking a little apprehensive. Sometimes they'll get up there trying to be too careful when they only need a mark. and not be aggressive. Well, that takes all the secrets out of this match right there. There's no question he's going to win this one.
Just amazing how he could be in such rhythm, throwing so many strikes, and suddenly he can't even get the ball into 1-3. He never even got tapped.
I think that's, again, the result of these new bowling balls, the resin reactive bowling balls, changing the oil pattern as they will, and the players haven't figured out where to play yet.
But haven't the oil pattern during the course of a telecast always changed throughout the years?
I don't think they changed as drastic for these players as they did. I mean, they changed more drastically for these players than they did for us. And the reason I say that is because these bowling balls react so much more to the dry and the oil than our bowling balls did.
Well, plus, you never get an oil ring on these bowling balls, but it still seems to eat up the oil. It goes right into the pores of the ball, from what I've heard.
Right. It just sucks it up. It just... And when that happens, it's not pushing the oil around. It's just taking it off the lane, drying it out.
Where before it might push it around the lane a little bit, huh?
Before it pushed it around, and by pushing it around, you could adjust to that. You just paralleled with the oil, basically. Now, you got to make big moves. You might make a giant step left or right. It's completely out of that playing area to another one. There, Gary Dickinson made a big move left there. It played deeper into the lane. The ball never finished. So
yeah, he probably made a
big too much to not hook it at all.
But he probably made an exaggerated move because it was an experiment frame a little bit there, don't you think?
Exactly. And he would really like to make this spare so he can get another practice ball.
Another shot, yeah, right. $4,000 going to Mike Samardzija for finishing fourth. Gary Dickinson. Oh! Well, he had the 2-4-5 to open this match, and he makes the 2-4-5-8 to close it. But now he gets another practice ball on lane 24, and he'll pay attention to this one.
You can see his look in his eye. He's working hard on this shot, even though the match is over.
All right. Gary Dickinson wins match number 2, 207 to 185. We'll take a look at how the Steelers seniors bowled when we come back. Next week for the St. Petersburg Clearwater PBA Senior Championship coming from Seminole Lanes. That's in Seminole, Florida on Tuesday night, September 27th, 7:30 as always. The week after that, we'll have the AMF Dick Weber Classic at the Arthur Ashe Center in Richmond, Virginia. That shifts to Wednesday night, October the 5th, again at 7:30. These are the people that will be competing in that tournament. Dick Weber, named after him, he's the invitee. Some of the others right there, Earl. And Pete Weber's in there, his son. They'll bowl against each other.
And all those guys are great players, every one of them.
And see, John Handigard qualified this week by finishing 23rd this week. Actually, he finished 20th, needed to finish 23rd. Somebody from Japan, the World Cup champion, and the ABC All Events champion, Tom Hawley. And here are the other finishers here this week. In 6th, Tommy Evans was there at the lead most of the week. Ron Winger finished 7th. And John Hersina, who won here a couple years ago, was in 8th.
And Larry Lobb, a Hall of Fame player right there. Again, Larry's one of the best players out here, as we all know. Thomas Hassel Jr. from Wilmington, Delaware, making a good showing. And, of course, Dave Davis, one of my favorite players, because he's a lefty, Mike.
Well, we got a couple lefties here now. Jim Brenner always seems to bowl well on synthetic lanes. The lawyer, David Toole, and Henry Blau from Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania.
And Bill Johnson from Louisiana. Bill can play golf almost as good as he can bowl. Earl Chase from Havelock, North Carolina had a good week. And John Denton from Midland, Texas, who still holds a PBA record, I think, for consecutive 200 games.
Matt Buxton bowling very well this week. And, of course, the great John Handigard finishing 19th. Vince Range from St. Louis finished 20th.
And Shell Wilson right here in this area, Tampa. He'll be home next week, basically. Glenn Allison, another Hall of Fame bowler. And John Niesman, 23rd.
Rounding out the field, John Fabo was 24th. And, of course, our alternate was Jim Russell. And in our semifinal match, we're going to have Hall of Famer Gary Dickinson taking on a bowler that just seems to keep getting better, Barry Girdle. We'll be right back after this.
Savannah, Top Rank Boxing on ESPN.
Earl Anthony, Mike Durbin back at Woodside Lanes in Naples, Florida. Semifinal match, Gary Dickinson taking on Barry Gurney.
Gary waiting for the crowd to quiet down just a little bit over there. Now there's a different shot. That was interesting.
Well, the old trip 6 action there. You used to do that regularly.
Well, I think what happened there for Gary is there was 2 things. Well, first, the little wait between matches, and he was practicing on an alternate pair and making good shots over there. Of course, that's a completely different lane pattern. Came over here, threw what he threw over there, and it crossed over. The left-hander, the first look at one of our left-handers today.
Now, we talked about the lane condition changing for the right-handers. Left-handers come on. Is that like fresh oil to them?
This is a big advantage right now for Barry Gurney. No question in my mind about that, Mike. He's bowling on basically a fresh oil shot, like you mentioned. It isn't going to change as quickly for him. There's been a lot less play over there, obviously. The lanes on the right-hand side for Gary Dickinson are going through that transition period I talked about. He hasn't really figured it out yet. So if Barry Gurney can get out of the gate with 2 or 3 strikes in a row, you know, he's starting out with a 20 to 30 pin advantage, you might say.
Oh, that's not the way he planned it, but he'll take it.
Comes around and Gary and he are pointing their finger at each other there. See? Big smile on their face. Smiling on the outside and crying on the inside right now for Gary. This is a big shot right now for Gary. Early in the match, only the 2nd frame. But let's see if he's figured out lane 24 yet.
Gave it a lot of room. Ooh, it came back.
There's experience for you, Mike. What he did there, he gave it, as you mentioned, a lot more room, but he slowed it down a little bit and got around the side of it so he could spin it a little bit, get a little more side turn on the ball, so it would make that turn on the back end for him and still have some hit.
Now, that's amazing because you never think of Gary Dickinson doing something like that. I always think of him going straight at him, but he's
generally got a lot of forward roll. Right.
He's got a lot more versatility to his game.
He has. You're absolutely right. And I think part of that comes from the new bowling balls. Gary's able to do more things with these new bowling balls than he could, say, 15 years ago with the hard rubber balls or plastic balls.
He's seen them all. Well, he should have worked on the right lane. I'll try it on the left.
That's right. Well, you can tell who the crowd favorite is here. Everybody's pumped up. They all like Gary Dickinson. We're going to take another look at that. Watch what he does with the ball here. You can see the release going to the right, the ball well out, almost outside the 10 board, and the side rotation. You can see his hand rotate around the ball. Barry Gurney has his hands full here. Gary Dickinson has figured him out.
Oh, a nice little break there for him. So both players open up with turkeys.
And the difference in our prior match, I really truly feel, for Mike Samardzija and Gary Dickinson, that match was who was unlucky enough to catch the lanes during the transition period and get a couple of bad breaks, which happened to Mike Samardzija. He got the opens, Gary Dickinson didn't, and he won the match. And there's a look at Joan Gurney, Barry's wife.
Never seen him win a game on TV yet. They keep throwing strikes at him.
And it looks like Gary Dickinson's figured out how to do that again. A little more ball speed there.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's not intimidated at all, is he?
He's definitely not intimidated, and when we get a chance, we want to take a look at Barry Gurney's style because he has a very unique way of getting to the foul line, delays the push away. We'll show you that in a little bit.
Gary Dickinson got some advice with his game from Billy Orlikovsky about his push away.
One of the best arm swings in the game.
Give it that room again. Didn't get the break in the 7-pin stands. Good shot, though.
It's an unnatural way of playing the game for Gary. This isn't the way he likes to bowl. He likes to, as you mentioned, Mike, he likes to roll the ball and go fairly straight. And Gary doesn't like to open up the lane. He's not comfortable. In his mind's eye, he doesn't see the ball going down and hooking back to the pocket. He sees it going down the boards and rolling up to the pocket. So it's hard for a player. If he can't get it pictured in his mind, it's hard for him to do it physically.
So it's not his A game. This is like a B or C plan for him.
Well, this is more really kind of a half desperation move. He had nothing with his normal game, so he made a great decision and obviously some good shots there. But Barry Gurney has just put 4 strikes together, and that's going to be awful hard for Gary to overcome. A little more direct with that.
same result.
Now there again that's the Gary Dickinson we've seen for years right there. He got the ball well out on the lane, didn't get it nearly as far to the right, went a little more direct down the boards, and there's the hitting power that he generated with that forward roll. The 5-pin taking out the 7. Barry Gurney on 4 in a row.
Very focused right there. Good concentration. Snaps that 7-pin out of there, boy.
We're going to take a look at Barry's game right now as he gets set. Now, we'll let him get going into that first step. And watch how when he takes the first step, nothing moves. Just his foot. Now, as we continue on, watch the ball start down into the swing. He's already in this step. 1, 2, and 3 at the foul line. And here's Barry Gurney. It's a 3-step delivery with a 4-step approach. Very unique.
Trying for one more, and this time leaves the 7-pin.
It's kind of interesting, Mike, that from my observation anyway, I feel the right lane hooks a lot more for the right-handers and is a little tighter for the left-hander. And conversely, on lane 23, Barry has to throw the ball, or the left-hander has thrown the ball a lot harder to keep it on line, whereas Gary Dickinson could go more direct. Now here's Barry cross lane at the 7-pin.
Practiced several 7-pins in practice during the practice session. And paid off. He leads by 20 pins. We're halfway through the semifinal match. When we come back, we'll see the result. Don't go away. Gary Dickinson in the 6th frame, trailing by 20 pins. Needs to get a strike here to bite into that lead.
It'll be interesting to see if he continues to arc the ball out on this lane. A little more direct, and the bad result. It's almost like he forgot what he was doing there and went back inside, Mike.
Well, it just looked to me like it never got out of his thumb clean. It was just kind of a get it off my hand type shot.
Good observation. And again, that little break there while he's standing around waiting, you know, sometimes your hand swells a little bit. I'm not making excuses for Gary. He's definitely bowled long enough to know better. But this ball never did get on line. We're going to give you another look at it here. You can see him from the side. We'll see if he gets his hand out of the ball cleanly. And Mike was observing that maybe his thumb didn't come out very well. And he definitely got rid of it on the upswing more than usual. So he probably didn't get his thumb out as cleanly as he wanted. And if you don't, it normally will go to the left for a right-handed bowler. The ball, that is.
4 frames left. 20 pins the difference. Dickinson trailing. And 23 presents no trouble. Barry Gurney blowing in that thumb hole. I used to do that all the time. Did you?
Never did that.
Never did that.
My hands were, you know, there's always plenty of moisture in my hands. I was so scared to bowl. You guys like you.
Right. Yeah.
What a great angle that is. Camera down there right in front of the ball.
Oh, what a bad break. The pocket 7-10, leading by 20 pins. This will put it under 10. Anything can happen now.
We're going to take a look at that again. Now watch the ball, and we don't know exactly what went wrong, and Barry probably doesn't either, but it looks like it's well behind the head pin. Doesn't really drive into the pocket area, Mike. Kind of like it almost rolled out a little bit, huh?
Yeah. Well, those dry back ends, or sometimes that happens, you know, those real dry back ends. At the 10 pin, trying for just one. You know, even with that split, we talked to him about his chances for victory tonight, and this is what he had to say.
Well, I like my chances. Dick's been throwing the ball pretty good all week long, and it's going to be hard to catch him. But if I can win my first match, I'll take my chances with him.
Confidence. That's what you like to hear. Confidence, right?
Well, winning that first match, so it was more difficult right now after that bad break.
Well, let's see if that affects his next release, and that's generally where you see it. He made a great shot.
Oh, better ball speed that time, not as much arc.
And that's the lane that I feel is more difficult for him, the left lane, whereas Gary Dickinson has struggled on lane 24, as have most of the players that are right-handed.
Well, we'll see if he goes back and gives it the room on this lane that he did the first half of the match.
Gary's ability to concentrate, not even blinking on the way to the foul line.
Oh, there's the room. Boy, it hooked early.
He never got it out to the right. Remember we were talking how far out to the right he was getting the ball, that out near the second arrow? That ball never got outside the 15 board hardly. So he was at least 3 or 4 or 5 boards left of. Here's another look at it. You see he's rolling the ball between the 3rd and 4th arrow. And watch the ball. It never, at that point, starting to go back to the left right there.
Oh, yeah.
Never, ever got out to the right. Picking up an early roll with no side turn on it. And the side turn is what kept the ball going on down the lane, I believe, for Gary. When he was getting around it a little bit. Remember how we mentioned that his hand was coming around the side of the ball, spinning it a little bit? That keeps the ball from gripping the lane if it's spinning.
There we see it. End of 8. Different 7 pins. Gurney has them. The big advantage is that Dickinson's got to finish on lane 24.
And Dickinson needs to strike right here. This strike is very important. He has to load up the game going into the 10th frame.
This is his good lane.
Oh, boy. Not a good shot at all by Gary there. And you can see him shaking his head. He knew he'd made a very poor delivery. And Gary's had a lot of tough luck on TV lately. It looked like this might have been his day, but right now it looks pretty desperate straits for him. The chances aren't too good he's going to beat Barry Gurney in this particular match. And
well, I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, or last year, he was bowling John Hursinna and wound up winning that match 193 to 192, and it looked like Hursinna was going to win, so it's not over yet.
That's true. It's never over. Who is that, Yogi Berra? It's never over till it's over.
Somebody like that, one of those great philosophers, yeah.
Yes. Oh, the winner of this match has got all they can handle in the next one, too, so it just gets better. Love that angle.
Oh, what a nice shot. What a nice shot. Barry Gurney leading by 18 pins.
Get another look at that shot here from behind. You see the swing coming a little bit behind him? That helps him get more leverage on the shot, get more rotation on the side, and stay behind the ball better.
See the 18 pins. Basically just needs a mark, doesn't he, Earl?
Just keep the ball in play here. He doesn't want to leave himself anything. He's got to stay aggressive, though. You have to be aggressive. A lot of ball speed on that one.
He was aggressive.
He was aggressive. And his wife finally got to see him win one, Mike. But Jones happy and Barry's happy. And Gary's not.
Well, I wonder if Dick Beatty is. I mean, would he rather face Gary Dickinson on the right or Barry Gurney on the left?
If it was me, I'd rather face the right-hander, I think, based on the lane condition right now. Even if it is such a great player as Gary Dickinson, I'd rather face him on this lane condition than Barry Gurney, who's lined up and throwing good shots.
Interesting, the psychology of this sport. I mean, Dickinson, Hall of Famer, ABC, PBA, won all these times, 50-some appearances on television, but Gurney's the one who prevails, and actually the one that Beatty probably didn't want to face.
I believe you're right.
Excellent game by Barry Gurney. He got a break in the 2nd frame, had a bad break in the 7th. I guess they equal out. Going to finish with 256. Hard to top that.
Only had one ball really out of the pocket. That was the 2nd frame when he threw the crossover. Everything else was there. We've seen a lot of strikes today, Mike, but we've also seen a lot of opens.
Well, it indicates a pretty fair lane condition, would you think?
Good shots, get good results. And the lane condition has been changing for the right-handers more than the left-handers, so.
Well, this is really the first game by a left-hander on the lane condition, so we'll see if there's any change for the 2 lefties in the next match.
Well, before this match started, the tournament leader, Dick Beatty, had the chance to come over and throw some practice balls on the lane, so he's not coming in cold. He has an idea of what they're like. And like you said, Michael, maybe they did change, and maybe he'll have to make some adjustments as the match progresses into this, about the 4th or 5th frame.
Dickinson swishes that 5 into the 7 again. Can finish this game out with 228 with 3 strikes in the 10th. Still a respectable score, but it's not going to be enough to beat 256.
Well, if you're going to get beat, you might as well get beat bad. It doesn't hurt as much. If the ones that hurt are those ones where you lose by 1 or 2 pins, something of that nature.
Now that would help pocket. That was interesting.
That was interesting. It's almost like Gary has changed his release at different times, and I'm watching his hand action. It's not the hand action I remember Gary Dickinson having, where he would lift through the center of the ball after rotating slightly to the side, then lift through the center. It looks like he's almost fanning the ball. not really doing much to it. Maybe he's trying to learn something different, or maybe it's that wrist injury he mentioned earlier.
Yeah, could be. The final shot, 227. So the championship match is going to face two quality left-handers. Dick Beatty taking on Barry Gurney. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Time for championship frame. In our opening match, Mike Samardzija had an easy time of it. This is the last ball that he threw, Earl.
And it was just about exactly like the previous 7 or 8. Here's Mike finishing out the match in fine style like a champion, which he is.
We see his reaction there as he wins 260 to 188, 10 strikes. He looked like he was on his way. But in the second match, Gary Dickinson in the 9th frame, working on a spare.
Hit him thin and watch him spin, and that's what Gary does here. And the important thing is that the 7-pin fell. It set up Gary Dickinson for the 10th frame. You can see his reaction, and it put too much pressure out there for Mike Samardzija. The match was over, basically.
207, 185, the final score, setting up the semifinal match. Barry Gurney in the 9th frame.
This is the shot that set him up for the 10th, and Gary Dickinson at this point is thinking anything but a strike, but it was just too much. The left-hander had a slight edge, I feel, in this match, and you see his reaction as he runs it out.
A very confident Barry Gurney wins 256 to 227. Setting up our championship match is Barry Gurney looking for his first title, but he's got to get by Richard Beatty. We'll be right back. Well, that's going to go to the victor right now. I guarantee you, the left-hander is going to win it.
Left-hander is going to win it, and really going to amount to, I think, who's going to carry the 7-pin. Dick Beatty, again, he's the leader of the tournament, so he had his choice of starting lanes. He chose to start on lane 23 and finish on lane 24. Now, whether that's a psychological thing or he just feels more comfortable, we don't know, but we'll find out later if he wins this tournament. We'll ask you, Mike.
Yeah, right. As he leaves the dinner bucket right out of the chute here.
Yeah. 3, 5, 6, 9.
Yeah, I have trouble with those left-handed spares. Getting all the numbers right.
You never left any spares, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
All right, now let's see how Richard handles this one. He's using his strike ball. He's not switching bowling balls, so he must feel he needs to hook the ball into this spare. He'll probably move just off his strike line a little bit. Use the same basic target and let it hook cross lane into the spare. Like that.
Just like you predicted. You know, I've mentioned that Barry Gurney would be going for his first title. It's his first television title. He did win one that was not on TV in Lansing, Michigan, where he beat Tommy Evans.
It still counts, right?
Still counts.
Well, let's see if he's still got that smooth stroke going that he had in that match against Gary Dickinson. He never really let Gary Dickinson back into the match hardly at all until that one open. That was a pocket split.
Well, he's got a little room right. It looks like that ball looked like he was almost a little short.
It's interesting, too, in the contrast in ball rotation these two players have. Barry Gurney, a little more ball speed, projects the ball a little more. He's a big guy, kind of strong, and he likes to get around the side of the ball and spin it a little bit. Dick Beatty, on the other hand, rolls the ball a little more, gets it into an earlier, heavier roll, a little higher roll on the bowling ball. So he needs to struggle a little more to get the ball down the lane.
Barry Gurney is 6 feet, 175 pounds. And gets a good break, tripping out the 6-pin. Uh-oh, there. We can remember this. Boy, this is a flashback here.
I'm surprised this is in color instead of black and white.
There's a guy. Same guy.
Looks the same, doesn't he? Same result.
Different ball, different shirt, same trip 6.
Same trip 6, yeah. That's Richard Beatty. Been a good player in the Detroit area for forever, it seems like. In fact, you mentioned, I think, that he and Mike Samardzija bowl in the same league up there. So
Gene Stuss used to bowl in the same league. They got a lot of great players up there.
A lot of great players up in that Detroit area. One that comes to mind, I think I mentioned Bob Strampy, a Hall of Fame player. Billy Golubieski.
Boy, that's too much room. 3, 5, 6. 2 shots in a row on lane 23.
I feel definitely the advantage here is to Barry Gurney. Not only because of his ability to throw the ball fairly hard, but his rotation of the ball keeps the ball in line longer. If the ball's spinning, it doesn't grip the lane. On the other hand, Dick Beatty, I should say, his ball is a higher roll, a more forward roll, and it wants to grip the lane sooner, so he has to use more ball speed or find a different angle to get the ball in the pocket. The lanes are breaking down on the left side. They're starting to hook more, and that's an advantage for Barry Gurney.
Converts the spare. Dick Beatty, the oldest on our telecast tonight at 57 years of age.
He's even older than you and I, Mike. That's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. Most of the time when I do the national tour, the two ages together don't equal mine. So,
all right, let's see if he can keep it going here. The rotation, the little side turn that gets the ball down the lane. That's the key to success here. There it is.
Boy, I'll tell you what, he looks impressive.
Looks like he's just kind of playing catch with somebody. He's not really working at it. He makes it look almost effortless. He's tall, as you mentioned. He's got that free, loose arm swing, that three-step approach, basically, that we talked about. Gets the ball out on the lane quite well. But the key to his success as the lanes start to hook more is going to be his ability to spin the ball a little bit. That's something that Dick Beatty can't do.
I like his demeanor on the lanes, too, Earl. He just is confident. He radiates confidence.
And he got a little luck.
Yeah, right. Everything's going his way tonight. That's two of those. Interesting how, as we take a replay here of that Brooklyn strike.
The ball went right out of his hand. It went to the right. And, you know, the head pin lays down, rolls back, kicks out the 8. That's kind of nice. Dick Beatty, even though he slapped his hand, kind of nice going type thing, you know, it's another one of those... I'm smiling on the outside, but inside I'm hurting. Leaves the 4-7 on the nose there, and again the lanes when they hook, it's tougher for Dick Beatty than it is obviously for.
Does he need to change equipment, Earl, or is it too late to do that?
I don't think he's going to change equipment. I think he needs to change angles. He needs to move into the oil a little more, and that's what he did earlier when he was practicing. He tried to play around the second arrow or just inside of it, and I think that's his next move. He might move in between the second and third arrow. Get out of that dry area.
Well, he's staring at a 4-bagger. He's down 32 pins. We're going to the 5th frame. It seems like he's got to do something, or it's going to be too late.
Yeah, now's the time to do it. And he can't stay out there and just keep trying to throw it harder and harder because it's just not his game. See, even if he does get the ball to the pocket at that angle, it's not going to have any energy left. It's rolling out. It doesn't hit. He leaves the weak 7.
Because it's so dry out there?
So dry. It's just rolling too soon, and the ball doesn't have the energy it needs to carry the corner pin. He needs to move into the oil so the ball will skid a little bit and retain its energy before it makes it turn into the pins.
At the 7 pin. No trouble, but spares are not going to win this match because the guy he's bowling's got all strikes. Gurney on 4 in a row. Again, blows in that thumb hole.
What a great angle that camera gives. See something you've never seen before in bowling from that angle.
Like a machine.
Like a machine. That camera angle gives you an idea of what it looks like for a little bug that's down there on the floor to look up at a bowler as he goes by.
Bug that's trying to keep from being stepped on. Huh?
That's right. And up here doing our stats this week, pretty fair bowler in his own right, Mr. Lewis.
Jim Lewis. 43 pins, half a game to go.
Still a possibility of that 300 game. Oh, that's a little more room. Much better shot than the last one on that lane, huh?
He's thrown a lot of shots very well tonight. 256 game, he had 9 or 10 strikes. He could get 12 this game.
Well, this one isn't over yet. This guy right here, if he can figure out where to play, he can throw strikes with anybody. There it is. A little bit of a move, Mike, into the oil a little bit. That was interesting. He moved. He looked like he moved maybe 3-4 boards to the right on the lane and with his feet.
Is he going to do the same thing on the left lane, or is he?
I think he has to. Okay. Even though if he hit the pocket last time, remember, left the weak 7.
But you still think he needs to make the move?
I think he needs to make the move and just go more directly to the pocket without quite as much ball speed, and should get the roll he wants. We'll see here. He stayed out. Stayed way out. And he carried the 7. Nobody knows this game better than he does, right?
That's right. So he's playing basically 2 different angles now. On the, one on the right lane, one on the left. Gurney is just playing the strike angle. $11 strikes in a row. 12 was the old Andy Verapapa. You remember those?
I remember those, yeah.
Oh, great shot.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was almost what he did with Gary Dickinson. Remember he left the 7-10 in the pocket? Almost had it again right there, and that would have been unbelievably a good break for his opponent. Of course, Dick Beatty right there was hoping that 7-pin would stand, but we're going to get another look at that. Watch the ball. Gets a little extra speed on this one. It doesn't pick up the roll till it's way down there.
Boy, the big difference between where these 2 bowlers pick up the roll on the ball.
It's a tremendous difference.
For those that don't know, an Andy Verapapa 300 is Andy used to count every time he had 12 in a row as a 300 game, no matter whether it was 2 different games or not. That's how he had so many 300s. So it's always been known when you do that in 2 different games as an Andy Verapapa 300. As we look at the scoreboard, the difference 42 pins. Dick Beatty, if you take it all the way out, could shoot 247. He could still be in this match with a few more strikes.
Well, again, this comes down to Barry Gurney has to stay aggressive. He can't think, okay, all I got to do is mark out now and I'm going to win this match, because it's not going to work like that. He has to try to get strikes. And so he has to attack the lane, attack the pins.
Ooh, an errant shot to 247.
One of the few he's made. And remember, he crossed over in that lane last time, got the strike. There's Big
John Handegaard, 10 PBA senior titles. He just qualified for the Dick Weber AMF Classic, the only senior bowler there. Gene Stuss just needed to finish 32nd or higher to lock himself in, but he finished 50th. Handegaard edged him out. At the spare.
We're going to take another look at Barry going to the foul line here, and he almost gave Dick Beatty the break he was looking for. But importantly to Dick Beatty, he didn't get the strike. As you see the ball hooking very hard through the middle of the head pin. And here's the cover on the spare. We'll go right back to live bowling. And Dick Beatty over here leaving the 6-pin on a good pocket shot, and he needs all strikes, Mike.
Yeah, that was really a bad break for him. He could have got that 6-pin out. He was still in the match.
Exactly. Now that takes that 240 game you're talking about out of the woodwork, puts him in the 220 bracket. So,
which means that Gurney'd have to open twice.
Yeah, there's not much chance of that. So at this point, but anything can happen in the game of bowling, the sport of bowling. It's happened to you, right?
Yes, sir. At the 6-pin. So we head to the 9th frame. 40 pins the difference. Beatty can finish out with 226 if he strikes it out. To have any chance, he must strike here.
He doesn't waste any time. He picks up the ball, gets up, sets his feet, picks out his target.
You know, if you had a match
and away he goes.
With him and Don Helling and Billy Hardwick all in the same show, you'd have a half-hour filler. Barry Gurney basically needing a mark in 2 frames to lock up his first senior victory on television and his second senior victory overall.
I think if he wins this game, he'll even his television record out at 2-2. Would that be about right?
Just about, yeah.
And his average is phenomenal. Just everybody's bowled a little higher score than him.
Oh, what a way to lock it up. Can't throw it any better than that.
That was a perfect shot by a guy that's bowled extremely well today. The big game against Gary Dickinson, and now again for the championship, a possible 266 here by Barry Gurney.
6 pins to win. I think even I can handle that on 2 balls. Wow. Classy guy, classy finish. His wife likes it. Barry Gurney. Impressive performance. 256 the last game. Can get 266 this game.
Not a bad average there. Not a bad average at all. You're going to win most of your matches with those kind of scores.
Yeah. At least make it difficult. He said, well, they were averaging 239 at me. I got to do better than that.
Looks that way. Another crossover.
Oh, hit it. I wanted to be in the 250s again. He's maintained consistency there.
You know, it's always, this is a wonderful day for Barry Gurney. I mean, here he is. He's going to be the champion here at the tournament here in Naples, Florida. And I can feel a little bit here for Dick Beatty. He's sitting on the bench, and he still has to bowl his 10th frame. And this match is completely over. And so he's going to go up there and bowl his 10th frame, knowing that this is not for anything. You know, just to finish it out.
Wife Joan looks on, shows her approval. Dick Beatty finishing out the string. Tell you what, he carries that 6-pin. It could have been a different finish, you know.
No question about it. This guy can play, and we talked about his ability to get the foul line in such good rhythm. He does that time after time, and that's why he'll lead a tournament by so many pins. When the shot fits his game, he'll get out front and just run away from the field.
$6,500 first place. Second place. Well, I didn't. I'd have had him winning, didn't I?
It's not a bad check. $6,500, not a bad week's pay. Of course, they're all getting ready for next week's tournament, that senior championship, too.
Big payday there. Beatty can finish it out with 226. Good game, but just not good enough to handle Barry Gurney on this night.
Not today. Gurney got out of the gate with that 5-bagger, or 6-bagger, excuse me, and that was pretty much the match right there. Remember, I talked about he was lined up on the lanes, and of course, Dick Beatty coming over as the tournament leader had to try to find him, and it was too late.
Well, he finishes out with a 7-pin. We'll be back to talk to our newest champion, Barry Gurney. Find out how he did it. Right after this, don't go away.
We all want the lesson. That's why we watch the Hardee's Classic. Let ESPN show us the way. Beginning Thursday at 3 Eastern.
The PBA Naples Senior Open is brought to you by Ruud. You can rely on the Ruud 90-plus high-efficiency furnace. And here's your champion, Barry Gurney, the winner of the Naples PBA Senior Open. You were in dead stroke out there tonight.
Well, I've been bowling pretty well all week long here, and I feel very comfortable in this house. And I'd like to thank Pat and his crew for outstanding hosting. And this is our 4th year here, and we can't wait till we come back. And we want to thank all the people that came down to bowl the Pro-Am, too.
And speaking of Pat, Pat has got a nice presentation for you.
I've got a check here for $10,000 for you. Congratulations, fantastic bowling, and a little award here from Woodside Lanes and the Tourism Development of Collier County.
Thank you very much.
Great bowling.
Outstanding performance by Barry Gurney, but we've got to run. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you again. Remember to join us next week for the St. Petersburg Clearwater PBA Senior Championship. Coming in